So I recently had an issue at work with needing to pass in props into our style sheet or into the use make styles in Material UI. And so we ended up with something like this, but I wanted to show you how to do that and how you can kind of do some cool stuff where you can take user input and use it to adjust the styles. So right here, we're setting the border color to either the primary or the secondary color in the theme. And then you can also change the background color based on the user input with user input. So that's kind of cool. And this gets passed into the style sheets via React State. So we're going to set that up in this video. Okay, so in the description, there should be the source code link. And if it's not somewhere, it's github.com/truthseekers/style-params-material UI. And we're just going to copy this link here. And we're going to clone it into our local computer. So, oops, I forgot git clone. Git clone. And then we'll grab it. And then cd into it. And then run npm install, which is basically just the Material UI package. So I'll see you in a second. All right, that's done. So we're gonna run, I'm gonna open up the code editor. And then I'm gonna run npm start. And waiting for the code. Okay, so this is what we have at the beginning. And what we want to do is basically allow the user to change the border color from between primary and secondary theme colors. And then also allow the user to change the background color with the text area here. And so we're also going to use the styles, and we're going to be able to pass props and values into our style sheets. So that's kind of cool. But let's go ahead and get to it. So I'm going to pull this over off screen, and we're going to do some editing. So the first thing that I'd like to do is go into our app.js file. And I'm going to assume that you know a little bit about Material UI or React, I guess, in general. You don't really need to know too much about Material UI, but get a feel for the code. It's basically just a form with a radio button and then a text field. So, and it's pretty simple. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. And then we've got some state, so the user can already change the state of the text field and change the value of the radio button. And so the whole point of this tutorial is the style sheets. So we're going to first create a style sheet. And so I'm going to do import and then use my style from styles/my style. And so this doesn't exist yet, so we're going to need to create this. So we're basically just importing the styles that don't exist. So we need a folder called styles and then a file inside of it called my style. So I'm going to do that. And this is in the src directory. So right click on the src and create a folder called styles. And then in here, we're going to make a new file called mystyle.js. Okay, and we have this file, and now we're going to want to export. So we're importing here, use my style. So we're going to need to export that. So export, use my style. And now we're going to create it. So we're going to use a thing called make styles, and that's from Material UI. So import make styles from @Material UI core /styles. And then we're going to make the object, or the object of styles I guess. So I'm going to call it use my style. So const use my style equals, and then we're going to use Material UI's make styles to make our object. So make styles, and then it takes in an optional theme. So if you have a theme set up, this is where you would retrieve values from the theme. And then it evaluates into an object here. And typically, if you look at the Material UI documentation, well, let's see here. What are we going to look at? We're going to look at the paper. So yeah, let's do paper. So Material UI paper. And if you look at the paper API, the classes, the CSS rules are root, rounded, outlined, elevation, etc. So a bunch of elevations for some reason. And basically, if you want to adjust this CSS or this class, then you would access it by this name. So root is what we're going to be targeting. And you can see that by, oh, I've got too many windows open. Okay. You can see that by right-clicking, inspect. Man, I'm all over the place. And then if we click here, okay, here you can see MUI paper hyphen root. Just like we got MUI paper hyphen root. So we access that class with this root name. So let's go back to our code that I have shrunken down. And so we're gonna wanna edit that root, right? So basically we just need to make the root object. So just like that. And then also, well, let's just start like normal like this. So I'll say width, I'll say 600, height 750. Oops, gotta add that comma. And then background, we'll say yellow. How about hot pink? Cool. And then border, we'll say 15px solid green. And then that's it. So we'll save that. And then now we have this root object that we can get from this use my style that we're exporting. So we're going to import it over here, use my style, and this comes in as a hook. So we have to store the value of this hook inside of an object here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that underneath here. So I'll do const my classes equals, and then we're going to say use my style. So use my style, just like that. And now we have access to the classes. So we could do like a console.log, my classes, and it might turn into some weird jumbled thing. I forget exactly, but we'll refresh and we get root make styles root one. And I think that like evaluates somewhere on the back end. I'm not exactly sure the details of how that works, but I have never needed to know that at this point, so I don't know it yet. So anyway, we have this my classes, and so if we want to use it, then we have to, so if we want the root, that name that we did earlier to update the MUI paper hyphen root, then we need to put it into the component that we want. And so the component that we were looking at was the paper. And so we would go down here to paper, classes equals, and then we could say my classes. So we'll save that. And then let's go back and take a look at our code or our results, and we have exactly what we asked for. So that's cool, but what if we wanted to be able to change this, or we wanted to send parameters into it or adjust it dynamically? Well, we can do that There's probably multiple ways that you could do that, but I wanted to show you how to pass in not props, but parameters into the hook, into the style hook. So basically what we can do is we can just say something like, well, you can't really do a single value, but you can do an object. So we can take an object and then we'll just call it BG color. And then I'll say the value is BG color. So BG color. I guess you could do the whole destructuring thing or the ES6 syntax, but it's fine for now. So I'm going to say BG color is BG color. And so we have this set to brown. So I'm going to say save. And then over here, we have no way to access the props. Not yet, at least. So, and we can't do it with a theme because well, first of all, we don't have a theme, but also this theme is its own separate kind of thing. So basically, if we want to access the props, we just have to turn this into like a function. So, or the return value. We got to set root to equal the return value of a function that has props. So the way that we do that is props equals, and then we'll open up the parenthesis, and then down here we will close it, and then that should give us access to props. So now, okay, we were changing the background color, so now what we can do is we can dynamically change this. So we'll do, let's see. Oh, actually, we don't need to do that because we're not in a string. So we'll just say props.bg color. And this is all JS. So props.bg color. So I'm going to save it. And there we go. So we got brown. So now I'm going to say olive. I don't know, is that, oh, that's a color. Okay, cool. How about violet? Cool. So it works. And then now the next thing that we want to do is set up the theme. So let's do that. Basically, we just need to create a theme, and then we will do some other stuff. I can't think that far ahead. So let's just create the theme for now. So we're going to do that with a theme.js file in the src folder. So new file, theme.js, and I'm going to say import create theme. It used to be create MUI theme, but I guess they changed that recently. So anyway, create theme from @material UI/core. Cool. And then we're going to do const theme equals create theme. And then basically we just need to create like a palette. So we're going to say palette. And then primary. So we have primary and secondary by default. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out a good way to do like a tertiary or third or fourth color. So I'm still kind of experimenting with that, but that's fine. I guess we could do, I don't know. We'll talk about that later. I have been meaning to do like a more detailed Material UI set of tutorials, but anyway, blah, blah, blah. So we got primary, and we're going to make this main, and I'm going to say 9A09D9. Okay, and so by default, again, primary and secondary. So we've got the primary set. So now we got to do secondary main, and I'm going to say this color is 46dbe8. Cool. And then basically we just need to export this. So export theme. So save. And then it's not going to work yet because we have to use the theme provider. It uses the Material UI uses React Context to handle the themes. So we're going to need to go to our index file, or wherever you want to wrap, whatever part of the app you want to wrap. And so we're going to do import theme provider. This is just regular old React context. So from at material UI core and styles, and then import theme from .theme, and basically we just need to wrap the app. So theme provider, theme equals theme. So we're importing the theme from this theme.js file, and it has the values, the primary and the secondary colors, and all of the settings that you set. You can set a whole bunch of stuff in here. And then we're saying, okay, in the entire app, the theme variable has these settings, and so use these settings in the app. So that's basically all that's happening. So theme, and then we're going to move the app into this provider. And I think that's it for this. So now we should have access to the theme. I don't actually think that worked. Well, let's keep going, and then we'll find out. So save. And okay, so it actually did work. I just had to refresh. I don't know why it didn't automatically refresh, but yeah, the primary color, or this radio button, should be this color as that is set in the theme, the primary color. So that's how you know if things are going good or not. And anyway, so let's go. Now we're going to set it so we can pass in the setting, so we can determine whether the border color should be the primary or the secondary color. And so if you look at the code, toggling primary and secondary changes the value of this value here from primary to secondary and back and forth. And so we can take a look at that here in the radio, primary and secondary. So feel free to look at that if you need to, but so we need to, just like we passed in this BG color, we need to pass in the value as well. And so this is probably not the best, obviously not the best setup, but I just went with it. So I had to figure out a good name to pass in, and I ended up going with primary or secondary. Terrible name, but whatever. So is equal to the state of value. So we're going to send that in to our mystyle.js. And so now we have access to the theme colors with this theme prop or parameter here. So we're going to do that. And again, the value of the color that we're looking for is, if you look at the theme.js, it's going to be theme.palette.primary.main or something like that. So we're going to go back to my style, and then we're going to get rid of this green, and we're going to say we're going to get rid of it. We're going to say it's equal to, and then we can do a test. I mean, there's a couple ways I guess you could do this, but I'm just going to say if the props.primary or secondary is equal to primary, then we're going to set the prop, or the color, the border color, to the primary color. So ternary theme.palette.primary.main, and then if it is not primary, then it is going to be secondary. So we're going to say theme.palette.secondary.main, then save. That should fix things, make it prettier. Let's go over here, and now we can see that we are able to change based on the value that the user selects. And the cool thing, again, is that we're changing the CSS dynamically based on the user's input because of, or through the theme and the props parameters that are able to be passed through. So that's kind of neat, and I hope that was helpful. So you can customize your style sheets because it's JavaScript. I think that's it for this video. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to be notified when we release new tutorials. Also be sure to like the video and leave a comment to let us know what you think. Lastly, check out the link or links in the description. We usually create a blog post to go with the tutorial, and we might have a newsletter or course or something to check out as well. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.